Hi guys, it's Barry Joyce here, and in this video I'm going to give you some tips on how to pass a CSCS test in 2024. Now, as you know, all tests are random and you are not guaranteed to get these questions. However, these questions are set on a total of 700 questions on the CSCS test. So from this screen, you click next, and the CSCS test is 50 questions, as it's saying there, and the pass mark is 45 out of 50. Once you've done that, what we need to do is then press next, and you take to that screen there. Now, what I would highly recommend, and what I'm going to do for this video, is I'm going to read the questions out, or get the computer to read them out, because this really does help you, because a lot of people do skim read over videos, and there is some tricky words and comments that you may miss. So what I will do is I'll talk you through, give you some key words which will help you in future tests. Here we go.
In which document should the safe way of carrying out a task be described? Order sheet, instruction manual, work program, method statement.
Okay, so as it's saying there, a safe way. So whenever things like method statement, risk assessment, safe system of work crops up on your answer, 9 times out of 10 it will be the answer. So for this one, I'm going to go with method statement and click next.
What should you do if you need special respiratory protective equipment, RPE, to handle a chemical, but no RPE has been provided? Do not start work until you have the correct RPE and training. Start the work, but take regular breaks to reduce exposure. Get on with the job, but try to work quickly to reduce exposure. Sniff the substance to see if it makes you feel unwell.
Now, as you can see, the bottom question there, it's just ridiculous. There are stupid answers in there. So, of course, it's not going to be that one. Stop the work. Do not start work until you have the correct PPE. Anything that says stop work immediately, stop work, don't continue, will always be the answer. It's all about safety, so I'm selecting that one.
You need to move a load that might be too heavy for you. What 3 methods could you use? Ask someone to help you. Use an aid, such as a trolley or wheelbarrow. Test the load's weight by picking it up for a short time. Drag the load to avoid lifting it. Divide the load into smaller loads if possible.
Always try to use aids and avoid manual handling where at all possible. So I'm going to drag that one across. You're going to ask if there's somebody there to help you, and then you're going to divide the load into smaller pieces. Now, a good way of doing these multiple choice questions where it's asking for 2 or 3, just drag your possible answers you think and have a look at the ones that's left. Look. Do they make sense? No, they don't. So this, in my opinion, is correct. Of course, we will find out at the end. So I'm sticking with that.
If a power tool being used on site needs refuelling several times a day, where should the fuel be stored? Close to the tool. In the designated fuel store. Outside the perimeter of the site. In a site vehicle.
Now, anything in your answers that says designated, it is there for a reason, pick it.
You have been asked to dig to expose power cables. You have been given a cable avoidance tool, CAT, to detect them. But you haven't been shown how to use it. What should you do? Dig the hole without using the cable avoidance tool. Read the manual before you start work. Ask a colleague to show you how to use it. Tell your supervisor that you haven't been trained.
Of course, if you haven't been trained, you're going to notify people because you're not going to know how to do it. So it's that one.
Which one of the following ways is lead most likely to enter the body? Via the eyes, absorption. Via the mouth, ingestion. Via the skin pores. Via injection.
Well, you're touching lead based when you are moving lead, so it's going to be via the mouth, so ingestion, so I'm going with that.
Where should vehicles be loaded and unloaded? On uneven ground, on a downward slope, on an upward slope, On level ground.
So, of course, a vehicle, it's got to be on level ground. A little bit of a common sense question, that one, so I'm sticking with that.
Who is the best person to control the movement of vehicles on site? The first aider, a vehicle marshaller. The site manager, the company director.
Whenever moving plant or vehicles are on site, you have to have a vehicle marshaller or a vehicle signaller.
When is the only time that you do not need to wear head protection on site? If you are working alone. If you are self-employed. If you are working in hot weather. If you are in a safe area, like the site office.
Again, a bit of a common sense one because it's all about safety, so you can remove it when you are in a safe area such as an office.
Which one of the following should a worker do if a mobile elevating work platform MEWP does not allow safe access to the place of work? Use a step ladder on the platform. Inform a supervisor that a larger MEWP is needed. Put pallets on the working platform. Stand on the guardrails.
So if anything is not working or anything doesn't fit or anything looks unsafe, you're always going to inform people, supervisors or managers of this situation.
What is a potential negative effect of working shift work? Lower wages, productivity increase, worker fatigue, effective teamwork.
So negative means not very good. So we're going to have a look at this one again. It's going to be worker fatigue. So the worker is going to be tired. So it's a negative effect.
If your respiratory protective equipment RPE is a bad fit, which one of the following is most likely to happen? It will filter more air. It will not protect you. It will break easily. It will get damaged.
Well, of course, it's not going to protect you if it's broke.
At what intervals should fall arrest equipment be inspected? Monthly, every time, annually, every time, after use.
So, fall arrest systems, it's all working at heights, and like all tools, they must be inspected before you use them.
When creating a risk assessment, the severity of harm is multiplied by what? The area of the construction site, the cost of injury or harm, the likelihood of harm occurring, the number of workers on site.
So in this case, it's going to be the likelihood because it is going to be a risk, so it's the likelihood of harm occurring.
Which of the following is a recognised control measure when reversing a vehicle? Turning on all the vehicle lights. Turning the site radio off. Using a vehicle marshal. Standing on the back to direct it.
As I mentioned in the previous questions, whenever moving plant, in particular when it's reversing, you have to use a vehicle marshaller or a vehicle signaller.
What should you do if your disposable foam earplugs keep falling out? Throw them away and work without them. Put rolled up tissue paper in each ear instead. Stop work until you are shown how to fit them properly. Put 2 earplugs in each ear so that they stay in place.
Okay, with this one again, look, keyword and stop work, pick it.
A truck has to tip materials into a trench. Who should give signals to the truck driver? Someone who knows the signals. Only the person who is trained and appointed for the job. Someone who is standing in the trench. Any person who is wearing a high-vis coat.
So for this one, the key words in here is trained. Any wordings that comes up in any question that says trained, authorised, competent and appointed, pick it, it will be the answer.
While working on site, you cut one of your fingers. What should you do? Report it at the end of the day or the end of the shift. Wash it, and if it is not a problem, carry on working. Report it and get first aid if necessary. Clean it and tell your supervisor about it later.
Of course, sometimes these things don't happen, certainly in construction industries, or you'll be never away from the first aider, but you should really report it and get first aid if necessary.
Breathing in dust while using a cutting disc to cut through concrete could result in which of the following diseases? Leptospirosis, silicosis, legionnaires, asbestosis.
So brick dust is known as silica dust or silicosis. Okay, so it is that.
What does this sign mean? Hearing protection must be worn. Hearing protection can be worn. No personal electronic devices. Caution, noisy machinery.
Blue circle signs with a pictogram in the middle are mandatory signs, so you must do. So here the pictogram is showing headphones, so it is hearing protections must be worn.
If you suspect someone at work has been drinking alcohol, what should you do? Report the situation to your supervisor, as they may be unsafe to work. Get them to drink plenty of strong coffee before they go back to work. Get them to eat and drink something, wait 30 minutes and then go back to work. Ask them to stay away for an hour and then go back to work.
So, of course, drinking alcohol and taking recreational drugs is going to make people unsafe, so you would need to report it because they're putting people's lives in danger.
What is the most appropriate course of action if a worker finds material they think is asbestos? Pull it out and take it to landfill. Remove the material and bury it immediately. Tell other workers not to disturb it too much. Assume it is asbestos until a laboratory report is received.
So, like any hazardous substance or anything that is unsafe, always assume it is that or it is unsafe until somebody competent has told you otherwise, or in this case, the only way to identify asbestos, it needs to go to the lab. So it is that question.
If the toilets on your site are dirty or do not flush, what should you do? Tell the person in charge of the site about the problem. Try to fix the faulty toilet yourself. See if you can use public toilets nearby. Try not to use the toilets while you are at work.
Again, we need to tell the person in charge that there's a problem. Welfare facilities.
How many people are allowed on a ladder at the same time? 3 people, if it is long enough. A maximum of 2 people. Only 1 person. 1 person on each section of an extension ladder.
I don't really need to go into detail with this, of course it's only 1 person.
What should a worker do if they have been asked to build a mobile access tower, but they haven't had any training? Tell their supervisor that they have no training. Ask a workmate how to build the tower. Look for tutorials on the internet. Get on with the job and learn as they work.
Well, again, because you don't want to put people's lives in danger, you're going to tell your supervisor you haven't been trained.
Which of these is the most accurate way to confirm the exact location of buried services? Architect drawings, survey drawings, trial holes, cable plans.
Now, buried services is your gas, water, electric pipes. Bit of a tricky question this, because a lot of people would think architect drawings or surveyor drawings. It's actually not, because things can move underground. It's actually what's called trial holes, which are little trenches which will identify and confirm their exact location.
What are the 2 main functions of the guards on cutting and grinding machines? To stop you coming into contact with the blade or wheel. To stop fragments flying into the air. To balance the machine. To stop materials getting onto the blade or wheel. To give you a firm handhold.
Okay, so you're using a guard, so it's going to stop you coming in contact with the blade and the wheel. Let's just drag that one across. Stop fragments getting into the air. Stop materials touching the blade. So with this one, the 2 main functions of the guard. It may not just stop fragments. It's a bit of a tricky one, this. It's going to stop materials getting into the blade or wheel. Let me just drag that back. Stop fragments going into the air. The 2 main guards, right. to stop materials getting onto the blade. So if you look at that one properly, you need materials will have to go on the blade of the wheel to get cut. If you're unsure, you just click flag and we'll come back to that one and just confirm later.
What illness are you most likely to develop if you breathe in dust and fumes over long periods of time? Skin cancer, laryngitis, occupational lung disease, occupational dermatitis.
Okay, so breathing in on the respiratory system, you're going to get occupational lung disease.
A work task results in cables from power tools running across a walkway. What action should be taken? While working, look out for anyone approaching to warn them. Think about cancelling the job because it is too dangerous. Consider using cordless tools or running the cables at high level. Put up signs that the fire escape is out of order temporarily.
So power tools run across a walkway, it's going to cause hazards. So to stop people tripping, you're going to run them at head height or try and use cordless drills to stop the wires.
Your doctor tells you that you have hand-arm vibration syndrome, HAVS, possibly caused through work. What should you do? Tell no one, as HAVS is not reportable. Tell no one, as it's not contagious. Only inform your friends at work. Inform your supervisor or employer.
Yeah, you would need to inform your supervisor or employer. Hand-arm vibration syndrome, permanent damage to the fingertips.
Your new job involves some manual handling, but an old injury means that you have a weak back. What should you do? Tell your supervisor that lifting might be a problem. Tell your supervisor you can lift anything on site. Try some lifting, then tell your supervisor about your back. Tell your supervisor about your back if it gets injured again.
Okay, again, you don't want to put yourself at risk and others, so you're going to tell your supervisor that it may be a problem.
Which of the following is an effective way to avoid causing harm to protected species? Avoiding breeding season. Only working at night. Using manually operated machinery. Take them to the site office.
Okay, you will come across protected species on site, so we're going to try and avoid breeding season for those species.
What other illness can be easily confused with the early signs of Weil's disease, leptospirosis? Dermatitis, diabetes, influenza, flu, hay fever.
So, Weil's disease, leptospirosis, is caused through rat urine, and the early signs is influenza flu.
What are the two most important reasons why waste should be segregated on site? The waste will take up less room in a skip, so the client can check what is being thrown away, to make sure the labourer has enough work to do. It is generally more cost-effective to dispose of segregated waste, so the wastes can be used or recycled more easily.
Okay, so with this one, it's all about recycling, segregating hazardous substances, so it's generally more cost-effective to segregate, and the waste can be easily recycled more easily. So if you just again have a look at those two, yeah, it's a silly one. Clients don't need to be checking and make sure the labourer's got enough work to do. No, so I'm sticking with them questions and moving on.
Which of the following tasks could place a worker at the greatest risk of lead poisoning if control measures were not put in place? Plastering a ceiling in a new build home. Building a wall out of old stone. Sanding down some old paintwork. Cutting timber in a roof construction.
Yeah, so lead-based poisoning. Some of the older generation will remember the old paintwork that used to contain lead. So it is sanded down old old paintwork.
What is the safest way to get into and out of a deep excavation? Use the shoring or trench supports. Use the buried surfaces as steps. Use an excavator bucket. Use a fixed staircase.
Okay, so deep excavation, it's a hole just remembering all of that. So how are you going to get in there? It's fixed, isn't it? So anything that's designated fixed anchor points, as I mentioned previously, will be the answer. It's there for a reason. Pick it.
Evacuation routes should be used as assembly points, clear and unobstructed, lit at all times of the painted bright green.
Nice simple one. Evacuation routes need to be clear and free from obstruction.
When signallers are used, who should they be in contact with at all times? The site manager, the machine operator, their supervisor, pedestrians.
Again, another bit of a common sense one. The vehicle signaller, the job is to make sure that they're in contact with the operator of the vehicle driver at all times.
If you find an injured person and you are on your own, what should you do first? Move the injured person to a safe place, then find your supervisor. Assess the situation. Do not put yourself in danger. Inform your supervisor that someone has been injured. Ask the injured person what happened and then find your supervisor.
So first and foremost, you need to protect yourself, look after yourself. So you need to assess the situation without putting yourself in danger.
What must be checked before working in a corridor that is a fire escape route? If the doors into the corridor are locked, that fire escape signs are removed before the work starts. If the tools being used are spark-proof, that any tools and equipment do not block the route.
So again, fire escape routes are the same as assembly emergency routes, so it needs to be unclear and blocked, so no tools need to be blocking the area.
What is the organisation The Samaritans? A political party which supports looking after vulnerable people. A trade union organisation offering financial and legal support. A charity that provides emotional support for people who are struggling to cope. A charity offering construction training to young, vulnerable people.
Yeah, the Samaritans are a great charity that they actually provide emotional support for people struggling with mental health or struggling to cope.
This label is shown on the container of a liquid that a worker is using on site. What does it mean? It could cause a drought. It is harmful to the environment. It can be used to feed plants and fish. It will only cause death to fish.
Yeah, on this one here, it's harmful to the environment.
Reducing the risk of cuts and abrasions would require protection for what part of the body? Blood, hair, bones, skin.
So your cuts and abrasions is going to be skin. Reducing the risk of cuts would require protection for what part of the body? Yes, of course it is.
What should you do if you find lots of old bird nests and droppings in an area you are working in? Stop working and speak to a supervisor to arrange for decontamination work. Carry on working and work around them. Sweep them up and put them in a bin liner immediately. Check there are no live birds present, then carry on working.
So bird droppings, highly toxic. You're going to have to stop work immediately, see your supervisor, and that needs cleaning up. So we need to decontaminate the area.
Using a grinder whilst wearing this personal protective equipment, PPE, could result in which of the following? Lung disease, Weil's disease, eye injuries, hearing damage.
So just look at the protection there. You'll notice straight away he's got no hearing protection. So it's going to be ear damage or hearing damage.
A worker is storing materials above toe board height on a scaffold. How should people below be protected? Use a brick guard or suitable mesh netting. Use string to secure the materials. Halt the work when people are approaching. Shout a warning to anyone passing below.
Yeah, a bit of a common sense one. You're going to use a brick guard or suitable mesh netting to stop people from getting hit from below.
In order to reduce the risk of accidents, which one of the following should be avoided when driving vehicles on site? Implement a one-way system around the site. Reverse without the use of a vehicle marshaller. Use designated turning areas. Drive through loading and unloading areas.
So again, just be mindful of this one. Make sure you read the question, tricky one. In order to reduce the risk of accidents, which one the following should be avoided? So should be avoided. Well, one-way systems, you need them. Use a designate. Remember, that's always going to be there. Designated drive-through.
Why is the Health and Safety at Work, etc. Act important to you as a worker? Give 2 answers. It states how to make legal claims after an accident.
Hello.
It tells employers who is working
I'm
where
just doing a
on
little
site.
test. Just come in, yeah.
It puts legal duties on all employees. It puts legal duties on all employers. It states how employees should carry out a task.
Which 2 extinguishers should not be used on electrical fires? Dry powder, water, red colour band, carbon dioxide, black colour band, foam, cream colour band.
What should you do if the electrical equipment you are using cuts out? Switch off the power and look for signs of damage. Shake it to see if it will start again. Pull the electric cable to see if it is loose. Switch the power off and on a few times.